Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Absolute Batman #1, All In. I don't know what All In is, but it's from DC Comics and it came out a couple months ago, I think, or last month or something like that. And it's a complete reimagining and retelling of the Batman story. So we're going to delve into that. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, often full color, but this month is black and white comic book that I produce every month for my patrons. You can get this at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com. And there's 27, this is 26, issue number 26, and 27 is coming out shortly. And you can check out all of these issues, and this is also only this is volume 2, so there's a 12 issues of volume 1, and all kinds of other stuff. There's Forlorn, Mutandis, Cyrene. There's all kinds of stuff that I've done in my comic book making career, and you can check it all out at alexanderturbin.com. Or you can message me at alexturbin0441 at yahoo.com or alexturbin0441 at Instagram. So let's check out Absolute Batman. I've heard some reviews. There's not really too in-depth reviews. As you know, I go into quite in-depth when I'm going into stuff. I don't read it per se, but I'm just gonna go through. What I usually do is, for anybody that hasn't watched the channel before, is I'll go through the story and kind of just give you an overall overview of the story, going panel by panel, and then I'd go back and look at the art and the writing. That's what I would do for indie comics and different individual stuff that I'm into. But this is such a grandiose thing. This is like a big time DC comic, so I'm going to kind of just go through the art, go through the story, and talk about the art and the writing as I go along. There's been a lot to be said about the logo for the Batman, the bat on his bat. I guess this is completely a reimagining of the story. So even though it has it's still Batman and it's still Gotham, it has new characters, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't bought a Batman comic book in so long. So if I get anything wrong, or misread or anything like that, and you guys are Batman fans, please let me know. I'm always love to get caught up on stuff. But as far as I know, Absolute Batman is a complete reimagining of the Batman story, and you can really kind of tell. So let's get into the story, and then we'll kind of talk about stuff as we go along. It starts off in a zoo, and what is apparently Bruce Wayne and his dad, and he's just kind of they're talking about being at the zoo, and we'll look at the bats later and stuff like that. And then it switches to a new scene, Absolute Batman, the Zoo, Part 1 of 5. So it starts off with almost a prologue where Bruce is a young kid and he's at the zoo, and then here's some sort of gun that we don't really know exactly what's happening. And then we have this whole thing where somebody is motorcycling through the city, and he's having this little conversation either with himself, he's writing it down in his diary or whatever, which I dig the first person perspective of books a lot. And because it's done in this torn gray paper, it's always the same person doing the dialogue. I've read quite a few first person books where it's all done in the same kind of text box, and it kind of disrupts the story because you don't really know who's who. But you know that this is Pennyworth, and he's just kind of, I think he says it like as he's going through, and he's going through the city. He stops at an Indian tea place, and although I don't think he's Indian, I think he's Pakistani or something like that. But anyway, this is Pennyworth. He doesn't look like the regular Pennyworth from the Batman comics. They have tried so hard. I think there was a Pennyworth TV series out there on Max. I haven't tried it yet, and I don't know if it ever came out or whether they stopped doing it now. But he's like some sort of MI6, which is like the FBI or CIA of the UK, and they've tried so hard to make Pennyworth be this badass. Like CIA agent or secret spy agent, and that is really cool. But I really kind of wish that they would kind of back off of that a little bit, because really Batman is supposed to be the main protagonist of the story. If you have Pennyworth being a protagonist of the story, then it kind of conflicts a little bit. Also, I always imagined that, even though it never said it anywhere, that Pennyworth was the original trainer slash teacher of Bruce Wayne, and that he actually taught him martial arts and all of this stuff, spy work and all of this stuff. And in my mind, and if I ever got to do a Batman story, I would actually make Pennyworth go even further and have him be much like the old ninja. Remember the old ninja movies where it would show the old ninja master training the young protege how to be a ninja, and he'd be like hanging off a wire for like 5 hours or whatever. In my mind, he would be like that. He'd be more like Stick from Daredevil, where he's this belligerent kind of, or maybe not even so much belligerent, because he is a hoity-toity English butler, but maybe he's like that to everybody else. But then when he's training Batman, he becomes this vicious, egomaniacal kind of person who just kind of puts Bruce Wayne through his paces. But anyway, that's a Batman story that I would like to do. But anyway, the Indian guy or Pakistani guy or whatever, he warns Pennyworth not to park his bike in front of or back next to the thing on the street anyway. It's gonna get stolen or something. But Pennyworth thinks he's such a badass ninja CIA guy that he doesn't even care. He thinks whoever steals my bike is going to pay for it or whatever. He doesn't actually say that, but he gives that look. It's that look like, I can handle whatever happens. No one's going to steal my bike. But then he goes into his house or his apartment or whatever. There's guns all around, and it goes to this little scene where he's trying to contact his daughter, and she wants nothing to do with him, or she doesn't pick up. It doesn't say that she doesn't want anything to do with him until much later, but that's this tiny little thing. But it plants the seed of having Pennyworth as he's a delinquent father, but he's also wanting to reconnect with his child. So maybe that's where it comes, where he connects with the Batman and stuff. So he has this organization, doesn't say who it is, MI6, who knows? It's maybe some sort of made up secret operation or something like that. And they're just telling them that there's a gang, some sort of gang that he's been reassigned to Gotham, and that's kind of one of the things that he's been saying in all of his first person perspective narratives, is that he's been reassigned to Gotham, and he used to come here, he used to live here or something, but it's changed quite a bit, and I think it's become this crime infested thing. Remember, this is a retelling. This is an almost a new origin story of Batman, I believe. And so he doesn't recognize Gotham. It's this like crime filled thing. And so he says he's been in all of these different places, Kabul, Afghanistan, blah, 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 blah. And he's done all of these horrible things. And he wonders if the Indian guy or Pakistani or whatever he is would be so happy or nice to him if he knew all of the horrible things he did. So it's kind of setting him up that he's just like this wizened old CIA operative or whatever. He's given this mission to follow this gang of bad guys, and and there's another person that they've heard about, or I don't know if they've heard about him yet. There's another player in town, but do not engage. Just watch unless he does something to disrupt the gang that he's supposed to be surveilling or whatever. So he leaves this his apartment or whatever, and his bike, yes, was stolen. And he says, "I hate this effing town." So then we cut to this. This is the part that I got really confused because I really didn't know how much of a change that they were going to do for Batman. But apparently they turned Batman into Daredevil. He is in Croc's gym, which is, I don't know, is this a foreshadowing of who is it? The crocodile. Is that the name of the bad guy? King Croc or Crocodile or Lizard? I can't remember. Anyway, they've turned them into a, I don't know who this is. It's somebody that knows Bruce Wayne. I don't know if it's a brother or a cousin or something, or maybe it's just somebody that works out at the same gym. But he's got the bag, and Bruce is like this huge hulking dude, and it explains it later on, and I'll kind of unravel some of the inconsistencies in what I see. But the other guy says, "Sorry, you can have the bag. I got a big date. I was trying to get a workout in. Blah 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 blah." But then Bruce takes over with the bag, and he just starts smashing it. And he's kind of like Captain America in the Avengers, where he just knocks the bag clean off of the hook and smashes it, and the sand goes everywhere. I don't know if that actually happened yet, but he's just smashing it, and he's remembering his time at the zoo with his father, and how his father's talking about they're at the lion's den, and they're talking about the differences between the lion being encaged instead of the lion being out in the wild and stuff, and how he's not serving his natural order and stuff like that. And Bruce is just like smashing the punching bag. I guess he hasn't smashed it off the moorings yet, but it's very year one-ish slash Daredevil-ish. I kind of wish that they had changed things a little bit, and I don't know, it's just a little bit too Daredevil-ish for me. Even though I love Daredevil, love year one, love Frank Miller, all that stuff, I just wish they had done something a little differently. He knocks the punching bag off its moorings, sand goes everywhere, and then the owner, apparently, I don't know if he's blind, but he doesn't have pupils, I guess, maybe, I don't know. But they just have this little dialogue between each other where he's talking about how much you're gonna owe me for that, and Bruce says, "I'll give it to you as soon as I get paid." So this is the first indication that Bruce Wayne is not a multi-billionaire. He's not the rich boy that we know of as of Batman. He's a working guy, and he's just one of the crowd, I guess. And the owner of the gym is just like, "Hey Bruce, I'm talking to you." And Bruce is very kind of distracted and stuff. And apparently, maybe this is one of Bruce's friends from previously, before the what happens later on. But I don't know. It still is a little bit disjointed in the way it tells things. I know it's trying to build up suspense, and trying to slowly ease you into this new world, this new narrative. But you have to give a little bit more of an indication if you're going to change something that has been intertwined into not only your consciousness but society's consciousness for so long. I mean, everybody knows the story of Batman, and how it happens, and how he becomes Batman and Bruce Wayne, and how he's rich and everything. If you're going to change that, I think you have to give a little indication of how you're changing it, why you're changing it, what you're doing, and the direction that you're going. And then it clicks to a new scene, and I'm just automatically assume that it was a bad guy. It's on some sort of super yacht, and this is modern day, by the way. So it doesn't take place back when Batman, we consider Batman being originated. So this is like a new origin for modern times, I suppose. There's all of these people, like this little kid in a pool, and his mother, and they've got these weird helmets on. Don't know what that's about. That's just kind of weird. And there's the skeleton guy, and here is and they've got weird hair. So they're not even hair. They look like the tendrils that Ahsoka has, kind of, or one of those Star Wars characters has. It's very odd. They don't explain it. And I kind of wish they would right off the bat explain a little bit more of what's going on. This is super. He's like a bad guy. He's not the Joker, so he's not obviously not Batman's main villain, but he does have some sort of prominent role to play in this new retelling, because you do see after you see his family and everything, you assume that this is his family, and then later on you kind of see that it is his family. He talks to them like their wife and child and stuff. But then you also see that this is definitely tied to the Batman universe, because it has Falcone and Maroni, who are obviously famous Batman villains, who are like the street villains. They're the gangster mafia mob bosses and stuff. And so this guy, he's just kind of talking to them, and there's like this loud music, and he's not really paying them any kind of courtesy or whatever. And they finally get fed up, and they're like, turn the music down, shut the hell up, and listen to what we have to say. And then they give him this whole speech about how their families are have been in this city for hundreds of years, and they've controlled Gotham, and they've got cousins and brothers and sisters everywhere, all throughout the city, and he has to do what they say or else. And then this new villain kind of talks about masks, and apparently he loves masks, and that's what these are things. I don't know why the wife is wearing a mask. I don't know why the kid's wearing a mask. But then he talks about these different masks that he's acquired over the years. Like one of them is Martin Luther King, and one is George Washington. And he goes into a very descriptive way of talking about the mask. This is it is very reminiscent of Daredevil Year One, where the bad guy kind of talks like he's a Frank Miller villain, but I guess it's a little different. So he shows all of these masks, and then he says the last few masks are Falcone's brother and Maroni's cousin, something like that, and indicating that he's killed them and made masks out of them. And he says the last two spots are for you two guys. So he has these two guys killed by the wife and the son, I guess. There's the little kid. He uses a wire to choke him, and I think this is the wife. No, the wife isn't new. It's just the one kid. He stabbed him in the eyes. Somebody stabbed him in the eyes. I don't know. That's very disjointed and hard to figure out. But I guess I just assume that the kid comes from behind and takes them by surprise and kills them both. And then it cuts to Batman. It's now the point where there's that new gang that's in town, and I assume that it's the gang led by this new villain. If he's an old villain, please, guys, let me know who this could possibly be. I don't know who it is, but it could be anybody. But please let me know if you guys know who this is. And this is Batman putting his cape and cowl on. Looks quite different, and he uses it quite differently than previously. And then the news, and they're talking about the Falcone thing, the Falcone murder. This is very reminiscent of The Dark Knight Returns, where it has the news programs and stuff, but it has interspacings of Batman kind of just doing his thing, and I don't know, just flying into action. Then we cut to the scene, same place, same time, where Commissioner Gordon, or maybe it's a little bit later, because this was obviously sunrise, I guess, and Batman was getting ready to go into the fray. But then Commissioner Gordon is no longer Commissioner Gordon. He's now Mayor Gordon. And let me know, again, you guys, is this a continuation of anything in the Batman lore that has, happened since this? Like, was there a previous issue where Commissioner Gordon became the mayor and all of some of this kind of transitioned into this? I don't think so, but if there is, then please let me know. the civilians and the people of Gotham are just giving Gordon hell because of this new gang and because the city's going to hell. So basically, like I said, it's a year one where Batman just starts doing his thing, and the city is just this crime-ridden piece of filth. They are never going to clean up Gotham. I would like to read a point where Gotham is all cleaned up and everything's perfect, and then maybe something bad happens. I don't know. But or maybe it blows up. Who knows? At that point, so Pennyworth is observing the gang and the surroundings and the whatever it is, Gordon and stuff, and like he's supposed to, like he was told to, and he sees one of these eight mask wearing guys or skull mask wearing guys, and he's just kind of like recording what he's been sent there to observe and stuff. And there are, like I said, there's Gordon and there's Malcolm, Maroni and Falcone and all that stuff. And so there are different characters. There are characters that you know from the original Batman mythos. Even Bullock, who is just a street cop. He's not a detective or anything yet. So then it has it is, I don't know who this is supposed to be. It later on says that it's Bruce Wayne's mother. So it's I can't remember what her name is. But anyway, it's Bruce Wayne's mother, and she's some sort of liaison between the city and Gordon and the police officers, and she says she's sticking up for him. She trusts them, and that's when somebody throws in a grenade, and they just start shooting people, blowing stuff up, and the bad guys are just kind of having their way with the crowd or whatever, shooting at Gordon. They miss him, I guess, or do they? Barbara is his daughter? No. Yes. Dad, Barbara, just get everyone out of here now. So she's a cop. He's the mayor. So there's this whole new mythos being built in this one issue. And you've got the new skull gang or whatever they're called. And they've enclosed the door, and they're taking everybody hostage, as they often do in Gotham, because they don't just want to kill everybody. What's their aim in this? We don't know yet. So then you see Gordon, Gordon, Barbara Gordon, and she has exited the building or stayed in the building or something, and you see Batman said, "Whatever you hear, do not open this door." So I think she left and she got as many people out of there as she could, and then she was going to go back in or something, and then Batman just kind of says, "Don't do that." Some of these panels are incredibly reminiscent of Batman Year One, and I do like that. But then there's some of the stuff that I'm really not into. I'll kind of go into the art a little bit afterwards. Pennyworth is still just watching what's going on, and he's telling the whoever he's in contact with that the other person has engaged the bad guys, and this is when the other people on the line tells Pennyworth to stop him, and to engage the person and take him out. So they want Batman taken out, and they want the gang to continue. So whoever this is that he's in contact with, whether it's MI6 or whatever, they're just not really, they're not good guys, they're bad guys. So Batman flies down or does his thing with his cape. They start shooting him, and apparently his cape is bulletproof, which is cool. And this is the big splash page reveal of Batman in his full regalia, and he's using his cape now in a much broader way, where it's almost like it's a whip, and there's different knife things on it or something. So he's just kind of throwing these bad guys around with his cape and stuff, and he's just using his whole costume and everything. And I like this position, this pose here, where he's kicking the bad guys. And Pennyworth, again, like they said, he's supposed to take out Batman, even though he doesn't really know that it's Batman or what's going on. And he's like, doesn't really want to do it. You can kind of tell he doesn't want to do it. And he's putting it off. He's like still gathering data. And then he's like, now let's see what you can do, because the rest of the gang charges Batman, and this is when he whips out the batarangs and he just starts using them as knives and cutting people up. But Pennyworth does notice that he misses any kind of arteries or anything like that. So even though he is slicing and dicing them, he's not causing mortality, and that's an idealist. So, which is what Pennyworth says. And then a big bad comes up with his big knife, and Batman whips out his axe. He's got a bat axe, which is pretty cool. I think some people didn't like all of this stuff where it's formed like this new bat symbol or whatever. But the bat symbol has changed so many times over the years. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, sometimes the wings are further apart. The bat symbol has changed, so why get too all excited about this change as well? They'll probably change it back at some point, and it is what it is, and it's pretty cool. He cuts the guy's hand off, and he says something about there being a hospital 3 blocks away, and he better run, but he can't remember whether it was left or right. And then he kind of screams at the rest of the gang after the gang sees that their big boss got his hand chopped off, and he just says, "Out of my way!" And they all go flying. But then Pennyworth is like, any kind of real person with any kind of real knowledge would have had a plan for all of these guys, and Batman blows up all of these people. So I don't know if they actually die, because it says earlier that he's an idealist and he doesn't try to kill people. But does he kill those people in the explosion? I don't think so. I think it's just an explosion to make them knock him out or something. So then Pennyworth decides to engage him. He whips out his shotgun, but Batman's ready for him, and he kind of kicks his butt. And then this is very odd, because apparently Pennyworth has been following Batman the whole time, and he knows exactly what's going on. And he talks about how the next day everyone's talking about it. All right, so he follows him afterwards. He realizes, like, Batman kicks Pennyworth's ass and then takes off. So Pennyworth does his due diligence. He follows him. He may have put some sort of tracer on him or something, but he knows what he's doing. He follows Batman, and he realizes that he's just a day laborer, and he's done all of these different day jobs, like working for the city and stuff like that. And he goes to the zoo and all of that kind of stuff, and he learns about him when he was young. He was like a brilliant engineer, and he developed this like bridge system that was designed like a bat. And then this is where you realize they were at the zoo, and Bruce's dad, there was a shooter. There's an active shooter at the zoo, and the kids are running, and Bruce's dad tries to get everybody into a shelter, and he gets them all into the shelter, and he goes and he tries to get some help. He tells Bruce to not open the door no matter what happens, which this is a harken back to what Batman says later on. So when there's an active shooter, that's what he does. That's his go-to move. And I don't know, this flower thing, it's reminiscent of the pearls falling in from Dark Knight Returns. And then the active shooter is just kind of shooting up everybody at the zoo. And it just goes through this whole thing of what happened to Bruce Wayne, but it doesn't say anything. After that, you lose yourself for a while, lash out, rage at the world, but then you find yourself again. Something inspires you. So this is him learning or figuring out how to be Batman, how to be a crime fighter. He leaves. You study applied mechanics, chemistry, criminal psychology, military theory, and then I think he does leave. Or no, I guess he doesn't leave. And then you come home. Yes, he does social history, everything to prepare. So he does leave, and then he says, and then you come home. You set up in Gotham and work in the power grid. And so this is where he's talking about how he works in the sewers, he works in the power grid, he works on all of this kind of stuff. So he's not rich, but he's brilliant, and he knows how things are done, and he's got a plan. Batman has a plan. So, but Pennyworth also realizes that he has a weakness, and his weakness is, bam, his mother. So his mother's still alive, which this is a very big deviation from the original Batman story. And so that kind of really changes everything, because if they're not both dead, then he has to keep his mother safe. And that's what Pennyworth is talking about, is that's his weakness, and that's how we can get to him. So he set up camp, Batman has set up camp in one of these huge complexes that he's worked at. And Pennyworth is saying that that is a great idea, because these places are left vacant, and it's just the billionaire oligarchs that have them just for looks, and they're actually empty and stuff. And Pennyworth thinks he has the drop on him, and he's going to thinks he's going to kill Batman or whatever. I don't know. He must have his cloak and his cowl around. He's in his Batman gear. But then Pennyworth says something. He pulls the cowl over his head, and whips out that gun that Pennyworth shot at him with, or he tried to shoot at him with, but then Batman stole it from him. And then he fires it at Pennyworth, and you're like, hey, did he just kill Pennyworth? But in fact, he modified it to be like a scatter gun with all of these bat pellets or bat whatever. And then Batman is the one that stole his bike, and you realize that it's gone full circle, where Pennyworth, even though he's been following Batman all this time since the big explosion in the center of the city, that Batman has been following him even before that. Like, he stole his bike. He's done his due diligence. He knows who he is. He knows where he's been. He knows everything about Pennyworth, and Pennyworth is very impressed, to say the least. And then he takes the bike, and remember, they're on a skyscraper. He smashes through the window and goes flying off into the sky. And then there's a little bit of a epilogue, and this is Pennyworth just kind of talking about talking to who he was before, what organization it is or whatever. And but then he starts talking about this other person who is a billionaire, and he never smiles, he never laughs, he never jokes or anything. So he has the code name, or the nickname or whatever, by his underlings, that he's called the Joker. So that's where the Joker comes in, and it's a complete flip-flop of how, the original is, where Bruce Wayne is rich billionaire, and Joker is just kind of the street thug who becomes whoever he is. It just flips it, so the Joker is rich, and Bruce is not rich, but he must be he's so technically inclined that he can do whatever he wants, because he just figures out how to do it. The writing is pretty good. I really enjoy the dialogue. Like I said, some of this stuff I wish that they kind of introduce things to let you know if you add something weird to a book like this, you really kind of have to explain a little bit. Like, you have to explain why they have weird hair. Why are they purple? Are they really purple, or is this just the color of the I think it is just the lighting effect. But they have tendrils of some sort, and they have these masks, so we don't know what that is. So I just kind of wish they had an introduction, a little bit more of what that was. But the dialogue is really crisp and great, and I mean, it's done by I never did say who it was done by, and it's done by written by Scott Snyder, and art by Nick Dragotta and Frank Martin. So Scott Snyder has done, a whole bunch of other stuff, other Batman and stuff like that. And so he's very confident. He's a very good writer, and I really I actually did enjoy this book. But there's so many inconsistencies and it's not my Batman, and a lot of people are going to say that it's not their Batman. It deviates too much from the original Batman, and we will just see how it plays out the later issues and how people receive them and stuff like that. I might have to get 2 or 3 or 4 to see if it actually goes anywhere that I'm really interested in. But right now, I'm not loving it. Maybe it's because I'm an old guy and I remember, enjoying the Batman movie, or the movies and the Batman animated show and all of that stuff, and the basic premise is always, changed a little bit, but overall it's pretty much the same. Bruce Wayne is a billionaire. His parents get killed. That's why he becomes Batman. All of this kind of stuff. So them changing it, it's just a little bit too much of a shock, a jolt. Maybe if they had slowed things down a little bit and introduced these changes little by little instead of just kind of like throwing people for a loop, or if they had said some sort of absolute Batman, a complete reimagining or something like that, or if it was like an Ultimates version of Batman and there's 2 versions of Batman, something. I don't know. Maybe that's what absolute means. Maybe that's their new line. Again, please let me know if you know anything about that. But I really did enjoy that. The art is very competent, and I did like it, and I love the coloring. But like I've said before, with new modern artists, it's like they don't have a real style. It's like art school 101 kind of thing. Sure, the narrative art is really good. Some of these panels are a little big, but they he has a nice variation, and the narrative art is really good. I never have to reread anything, and it all flows really well, and I understood just about everything about it. And like I said, there's some nice variation when there's lots of action, which there really isn't a whole lot of action in this book. But he makes the slower parts a little bit more relevant and a little bit more interesting. So and there are some big scenes where there's a fight scene and stuff like that, and those are interesting. But the style, if I feel like there's this new style in comic books where it's just kind of it's a little bit flowing, which is good. Like there's a lot of flow, lots of animation, a lot of action and stuff like that. But there isn't, like, it's not stagnant, it's not stiff. The art certainly isn't stiff, but there's something about it that there's just I'm not feeling a reminiscence of any other kind of style. Like so many comic book artists would start out their style as a Joe Kubert clone or a Jim Lee clone or Neil Adams clone, and then they would devise their own kind of style. It would develop and change over the years that you read them, and you could kind of grow with them as a reader. And I really enjoyed that, and I really miss that kind of stuff. I miss the John Romita Jr. Style, the Bill Sienkiewicz's styles. I just miss the differences in styles that were so prevalent in comic books at the time, and now I just feel like that's kind of missing a little bit. So even though this is very competent and I do enjoy it, that is probably my biggest and my only real complaint about the art and the writing and stuff, is that it's just I don't really have a complaint about the writing other than that few things I said. But the art, as far as the art, that's really my only complaint, is that it looks a little bit too much like everything else that I've seen there. But I'm gonna start getting more new comics, so I have a little bit more information on the new styles and stuff like that. So let me know if you guys feel the same or differently, whatever. So anyway, that's my take on Absolute Batman. I'm going to give it a review right now. I'm going to give this a 7. I didn't love it, and maybe some of this 7 is my own personal contrivances, because I'm an older guy, not elderly, but I'm an older guy, and that certainly has a lot to do with it. If they're going to change something, then they have to do it in a way that you feel comfortable with. And I'm not really comfortable with some of the changes that they made on him. Maybe maybe they will change those changes. Who knows? I don't know. But I did enjoy it, so I'm not going to rate it too low. It's definitely a 7. It's nothing fantastic. I didn't really like. I don't really need to rush out, get the next issue. It didn't really leave on a big cliffhanger. Stuff like that. It was enjoyable. I like the action scenes. I like the new ways that Batman's using his cowl and stuff like that. And there's a lot more that I think that they're going to explore in the Batman universe here, and that's really a cool thing. But yeah, I'm giving it a 7. If you're new to the channel, I usually don't go over new comics, but that's a new thing that I'm starting. Every week I'm going to have a new comic. I'm going to do it usually on a Monday or Friday because I have something special planned for Wednesdays now. And so I'm going to be going over new comics. So let me know if there's anything out there that's new that you'd like me to go over. And maybe if you think it's really great, or if you think it's you haven't checked out, but you're thinking about it, let me know and I can grab it and we can check it out together. But if you're new to the channel, like I said, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and all that cool stuff. And thanks for watching and have a great weekend. And keep on creating.